A very good morning to everyone present. Good morning, Nitish. I hope you are doing well. Good morning, Purna and Pradipta.
Good morning, everyone.
So let us wait for a few more minutes. Let us see if a few others join, and then we will continue our discussion. So we can start, I believe. Again, a very good morning. Uh, this is uh, this is a meeting that is we wanted to have an interaction with all of you, both me and Nitish, and we would like to discuss on the aspects of answer writing and also on prelims perspective. Since Nitish has cleared Indian Forest Service with a very good rank, he will be able to shed some light on how to prepare for UPSC prelims and how to specifically uh, get such high marks. Because we all know that for Indian Forest Service, you need to get very high marks in prelims, and the cutoff goes way higher than UPSC civil services examination. And we are very glad and very proud that we have Nitish among us. And I hope also that all of you are comfortable with English, because this conversation is going to be in English and Hindi.
A very good morning to everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So from where should we start? We should start from prelims, or I have some observation on, like, we have a week of answer writing. So I have jot down some points where I can suggest everyone collectively where we can improve, or it is for everyone, because even if you try to see the copies of each other, you'll learn something. So whether you would like to start from the mains perspective, or first you would like to go for the prelims, and then we'll come to the answer writing and everything. Uh, you're muted. Punam, yeah.
Yes. You can give your preference
Anyone?
on the chat box.
Mains perspective. Okay. Prelims or mains. Okay. Mains. Okay. So let we first start from the what are all the observation I have from the copies I evaluated and everything. So let me go back. So two, three observation, like I'll first I'll start from how to read a question. So first thing that comes to the answer writing, we have a question and how to approach that. So the first thing you'll do while coming into the frame of writing an answer is read questions twice and underline the aspects very clearly. You can underline even in the exams using pencil or pen. That is not an issue. You underline even if you can number. For example, sometimes we tend to forget that if for example, if a question is lengthy, we tend to forget how many parts are there, or we, because exam we are always in hurry to write the next question. So you always can number. For example, in one two questions I also do that. In fact, while evaluating also I see, and then in your head, once you practice now, it will come out easily. Right now I won't say time is much issue for you guys. Time can be managed once you start developing these habits. Time will be managed. Then, so you write one, two, three, and see the intention of the question maker. Ki what in what proportion they are asking. For example, if they are asking for relevant solutions, so you have to spend major portion or 60% of that portion on the solution. And for example, to you have to decide the proportion in which you have to deal with the two, three parts of the question. I'll come to the examples. I've already opened that evaluated answers and everything. From there only, I'll justify or I'll make you understand what I'm trying to say that. So first you read the question, that is good. Now we comes to how to start your like introduction. The second thing is ki sometimes we like it we are very in exam, since the once the flow is maintained you can write many points, but introduction is something where we get stuck most of the time, and the conclusion where we think now we need to move on to the next point. So the first thing is the body. So I have seen that, see, everyone knows, like you guys also have seen that body, there are lots of relevant how to write a basically, sorry, introduction, how to write introduction. See, the introduction can be written in two, three uh, a way. For example, you can, for example, you have to identify. For example, if the question is related, for example, you someone has asked me this constitution, how the Supreme Court this has helped in shaping the polity of India. So either you can contextualize that. Contextualization means the recent trend. Either you can quote that. What will happen now for this? Instead of going for definition or the with some relevant article, you can a plug-in article in between, but you cannot. You should not starting with the. Uh, just wait. One second. Sorry, I had one look. So, what I think the contextualization. So you have to identify. For example, there was a question based on Assam, a G20 meet and everything. So first, see, you can write that Assam has many potential and everything. That is fine. But what makes the first impression is that you understood the question by contextualizing this. Even anything, any word or any saying that this program has happened, and we had got opportunity to showcase the culture and one two examples. So that is the contextualization. And second thing, definition means you every time you cannot go to the definition. Like for example, if someone is for example, there was a question, what is the difference between professional ethics and personal ethics? So you cannot go back to the example of giving what is ethics. So we tend to do that because that is the most convenient thing we have. So instead of that, you can make an impression by in the first para only, in the introduction only. You can define professional and personal ethics very clearly. Even if the introduction is a bit lengthy, that is fine. But that makes an impression that you have understood the topic very well, and you don't like the first impression on evaluator that you know that, and then he would be very uh, lenient in evaluating your copy because he understood that okay, you are on point. And yeah, so there would be some questions where there will be lots of part where you don't have the time to write a different intro, for example, definition, context, and everything. There, I would say, for example, 10 markers and even in the 15 markers, which are very lengthy, directly come to the point. Intro, write intros in a such a way that it also addresses the like demand of the question rather than writing a general intro. Direct come to the point because you don't have much space or much time to write on the length, especially those questions which are very lengthy. So try to showcase some of the part in introduction only. So at least you won't lose out on the different perspective. So that is the introduction wala thing. I'll give one two example I have on introduction only. Yeah, for example, there was a code-based question in ethics. So I have also given the instruction how to write a code-based answers in like in one of the checked copies. So I will request all of you to even at least read someone others evaluated copy as well, because I write whatever I had to give instruction, I write in the copy itself. So you can go through and you can get that, you can read whatever there is. For example, there are code based questions, so you can always start with the code based question on your opinion whether you agree with the quote or not. Even if you agree, try to explain there and there itself rather than waiting that you will explain it in a body and everything and you're starting with the definition. No, clearly explain that quote in your intro only, and body is to further justify whether you agree with that quote, or you can also use the counter perspective in your body. Counter perspective, I mean that along with this quote, there's also saying of another great man, and which is slightly counterintuitive to this. So you can bring that perspective as well. So leave your body for that thing rather than again repeating the same thing. So now we'll coming to the body. So I have devised that you guys are writing good, your contents are good, but what is the problem is in body. Sometimes I see the lack of perspective. For example, 15 markers, even a 10 markers, you get the marks based on the number of number of perspective you're bringing out, rather than writing 4 or 5 points on the same perspective. So how we can generate the different points from the different perspective? So two, three methods are there. If you try to inculcate, I'm daily like enlisting all those methods. The first is your syllabus. So if you don't have any or blank, just completely on the just start thinking in your head. Political, if you are fetching, if you're able to fetch any point, then it's fine. Right, that's then social, cultural, economical. This much we all are able to do. Then comes the security, which we generally tend to, or strategic, we generally tend to ignore. Then you can also find environmental angle. These are the points you will write in the. You won't give these subheadings, but internally you will be thinking on these lines. Key whether you can get a fetch a point from the environmental angle or not. For example, is there some governance related issue or not, and international perspective as well. For example, again, there was a question on personal professional ethics. So everyone wrote very nice answer that everything is there. IFS, Indian Foreign Service officers are also like civil servants. So you can also bring in the international perspective in this. The international relation will be also be affected if we are not ethical on the professional front. So you can do that. And in the governance related issue, you can bring mostly in the on like when the question has been asked regarding implementation of the scheme or any other, like need to just think on those lines. You will get multiple points. So points, making a point should not be a problem for you guys. For example, in 10 markers, 7, 8 points, you can easily make. I can understand that you cannot write facts or examples for each points, but what you can do, you can prioritize. For example, you know the facts for 3 points, like in social perspective, you have points, political, you have some example or the case says or case studies. So you need to prioritize those points, 1, 2, 3, and the other points which you don't know much, just slide it down. So what will happen while evaluating copy? I'm already impressed that this guy knows well. He has facts, figures, and he has some like good enough example to justify the answer. So even and on the top of it, when I'm coming down, I'm getting some new perspective as well. Even you're not able to justify with examples, it is fine for me because I make up my mind to give you marks. So that helps. So what will happen if you count point, then you already have made 7 or 8 points. If I count whether you have justified or not, you have justified 2, 3, 4 points beautifully, and that will do. Don't think you have to do like it. It's better if you can, but humanly, sometimes it is not possible with every answer that you will know examples and facts for each and every points in the body. So that is fine. So second thing is prioritization. Prioritize your point. And how will you prioritize your point? Write those points which is most relevant to your answer first. See, generally we tend to believe that the number of points we read, what matters is the number of points, not but what matters actually to the evaluator is, for example, the most important point should be written the first. For example, civil servant, if it has been asked in the context of the role of the civil servant, the most important role comes to the resource management and the welfare and everything. So that point should be like in your priority. Even you are making all the points are right, but giving priority to your points is important. So how will it come? It will come by practice. Once you start your mental process, start thinking in those lines, it will be helpful for you. And coming back to in body only, I'm just talking about those questions where you can provide a counter perspective. For example, if some questions are in court, and yeah, you agree with that. I'm not talking about the pros and cons wala question. I'm agreeing like whether do you agree with that the Indian society is going in a certain direction. So In that direction, it's ask, like, examiner is asking you your perspective. So everything, like, every perspective cannot be 100% right. It will be 80, 70, or 60% right. So the 40% is that your counter perspective will come. Okay, I agree with this statement to the larger extent, but the scenario can be, could be this as well. So 20-30% you can accommodate that, not more than that, because the question is majorly on what is your views on this rather than the counter perspective. So 20 to 30% of the body part you can include that. And again, I'll come down to the conclusion. Conclusions can be two, three types. For example, for every paper, conclusion differs. For example, if the governance or polity related question, you can put in the government schemes, the efforts, and the futuristic vision of the government. If it is international relation, so what the vision you are thinking, what from the current trend, you can bring in that in the past it has happened, so it might happen. So we should be this. So you can show your visionary thought in the international relation type questions. And you can, the most innovative conclusion is that you had your own solutions. For example, in society, governance, and even in ethics, you can give a conclusion based on your uh, personal experience, and you can make it more solution oriented rather than just explaining or stating the question itself. Most of the time, what I have seen, while coming to the conclusion part, we all are tired. See, we all are human beings. We all are in a hurry to complete the answer. Where there we make a mistake. So we have to be fast. That is non-negotiable. But you have to keep saying your mind, okay, question has not been yet completed. I still have to be on this question only. So once you train your mind, na, so you won't get hurry. Like, generally we rust into the conclusion and we just tend to get out of the answer. It's a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. It won't take that much. Whatever time you are giving now, and even if you'll calm and write your conclusion, it will take not more than 5 seconds. Believe me. So try to develop this habit. These are not something which will come you overnight. If I take a session, it will come. No, I am just trying to say you to inculcate an habit of it. And third thing I'll say, the repetitions. Generally, what, while giving subheadings, I emphasize a lot on the subheadings. Please give subheadings. So what we tend to do, we give a subheading that, okay, let's say political issues, and we also write, there have been political issues which has been fine. No, you don't have to write this. Political issues, you can directly come to the point, which concludes facts or examples. You don't need to repeat. And also we try to, just to relate to the question what has been asked, we try to repeat the language of the question. But while doing that, what we tend to do, we tend to write 2-3 line heading. Like, for example, there was a question, I'll tell you. Sorry, my electricity is gone, but it'll come back. No, no. Mm, yeah. For example, again, that ethics wala question only, personal and professional ethics. Distinguish between personal and professional ethics. Do you think that it's justified for a civil servant to be ethical in his her professional life without being so in his personal life? Explain with the example. So, okay, introduction was fine. So, argument for when a civil servant is ethical in professional life without being so in professional life, and then you are writing this. So, instead of that, you can just justification for ethical discrepancy. So, you need to develop that. What I say, you need to develop that one short words. Like, in 1 line, you should write your heading or whatever you want to write, rather than explaining each and every part. So this is my common observation. If you want, you guys can ask me whatever the copies has been evaluated. It would be better for me if I explain through examples what you guys have written. And if you give me like what you guys need to ask, you can ask. Then I'll be in better position to explain. This is what came into mind while evaluating. So you guys are, the floor is open. You can ask me and you can discuss any questions if you want. Yeah. Anything?
One more thing that I would like to add is You have to understand the rationality. Most of you, some of you, when you write your answer, you forget the flow or the question that has been asked, and just jumping into what you know and what you want to write will not fetch you marks. What the question is, come to the point and answer with relevance to the question. And most of you have your dilemma regarding conclusion, what your conclusion should look like. It should be with relevance to the body and the introduction that you have given in the in your answer, and it should also reflect your decision making ability, your problem solving ability, and your forward looking attitude. That whether you have agreed or disagreed to whatever the topic was, but in the end you have to, when you conclude your answer, it should reflect that you are a forward looking person who looks towards a solution, who wants to give a solution to the organization when you are in the government. How can I maintain flow in my answer?
Yes, I would like to add the Poonam's point. So very often we tend to what we tend to do. For example, we have read any topic very well, and that questions popped up in an exam. We suddenly get very excited. Since that sometimes works in a negative way. For example, if you approach a new question, you will put your mind to it. You will try to adhere to the like what has been asked because you don't know much. You haven't studied it yet before. But what happened when you get a question which you have already prepared, like whether it's a current affairs or something else, and it has popped up in your exam? Suddenly you get excited, and what happens in that excitement? Generally, we tend to forget that how this question has been framed, and we tend to write whatever we know because you know very well on that topic. That is sometime I would say work in a negative way. So what you have to do, you have to keep your calm and see what is the language of question, and you have to address, you have to align your knowledge in that fashion only, rather than what writing the points which you know. Just frame it. It will take another 5 seconds to frame it, and then write again the same thing. See, I have seen one copy where every information was correct, but it was around the question, but it was not exactly what has been asked in the question. I was just trying to search that question while Puna was addressing that point. So just changing one language in that each and every point, you would have got like best answer, because the points were there, facts were there, but the language, it gave an impression that this person haven't understood this question, and that is why he's writing whatever he knows. So that impression is like it is something. Even if you're right, even you're knowledgeable, sometimes we think that exam mein ye sab aata tha, I knew all this, I have read and everything. But if you don't have enough practice, if you're not conscious enough, you tend to write what you knows rather than what questions has been asked, and then we crib that यार मैंने सब लिखा था, I have written each and everything, but still I am not getting that mark. That happens when you knows the answer. So you have to be very careful when you get an question which you already know. Yeah, that was the point I wanted to make. I was just looking for the example because I have checked one copy. Every point was to the point, everything was correct, but it was not addressing the answer. Yeah. Anything, any question you want to discuss? For example, even the evaluated copies, any comments I have given, if you want to know ki why I have given, or even if you want to know ki how to like develop these habits, everything, anyone can ask, because I have all the questions and everything. I can go through and I can explain, because this was the opportunity I was looking for to interact you guys, because it will be better for me to explain everything. So I found one thing, that indexing is another important point. So knowledge is one point, presentation. See, handwriting you cannot do very much from here, but what you can do, visualization you can increase. So I have in one feedback, I have given that style of indexing. So I found it very relevant. Even when you're like you're changing paragraphs, even your alignment is different. If you index in that way, it's very easy for the like evaluator to get to your point. So what I do, generally if I make a subheading, I'll give point one. Within that, for example, is a political perspective. And political, I have to make 2, 3 points, then 1.1. All you know this indexing in the it's words and everything. And even within that, I have to write a small. For example, sometime we get to have example or sub examples within that, then I'll learn 1.1.1. So at least up to 3 stages you can go. And this helps to the evaluator to relate to what are the points you are making. So this indexing I have adopted, you can adopt different indexing, but I will say whichever indexing style you're adopting, just try to keep numbers on it. Because sometimes, for example, evaluators also don't have concentration each and every time. Sometimes you are written 10 points, but you are giving in a bullet, or you're simply giving the arrow mark. So what happens that I don't had a tab on how many perspective I have given, how many, for example, suddenly some, for example, some my friend came and evaluating your copy. So I won't go and repeat because that much time I don't have. So if you are numbered that well, it will help you. Like for example, even I just it will give me an extra margin to give you point 0.5 or one number more based on that. So it's always good to write numbers rather than just bullets. Yeah. And it's also very visible. For example, point number one you're writing here, then 1.2 you're writing here. So I can get that it's a heading. For example, in heading only, you get this much space. And then 1.1, then I'll get to know, okay, this is the, again, you're talking about this topic only. So for example, if you use arrow and then you are using arrow here, so it's very difficult to whether he's trying to add in this point or whether he's trying to make some new point. So yeah, that is one thing. Anything you guys want to ask, yeah, feel free to ask because I'm here only to help you
Yeah,
guys.
we have
Mm.
certain questions.
Mm.
Miss Dulumoni, she has written, how can I maintain flow in my answer? And how can I
Oh,
write?
sorry. Yeah, hold on.
Is the chat box available to you,
Yes, yes.
Nitish?
Now I can access. Sorry, I was not seeing this. So someone has asked what kind of, for example, starting from the top, how can I maintain flow in my answer? Very simple. So flow in answer is something, for example, you are not writing in paragraph, so that is not that much an issue. And the kind of question they're asking like again I said now, when you are reading the question, just underline how many parts they have asked, give the number, decide when I am reading the that is why I say okay, read question twice, decide in your head how much portion you have to give to each part. For the major chunk of the portion would be like 60-70% would be a major question which has been asked, and around that there would be one more two questions. For example, there was a question ki what is this, for example, G20 wala question only ki G20 has been organized, what is the potential, what is your solution. So what is the potential is the major portion, right? So that you have to give 60-70%. And introduction should be, in that case, would be shorter because you have so much to write in the middle. And then conclusion would be because it's asking you ki what can be. The language of the question is such, so you give the 30%, you spend 30% of that. This you'll do while reading the question itself. Now coming back to how to maintain the flow. So you don't need to maintain the flow because you don't need to very particular about the flow because you already have body, conclusion, and body introduction, body, and conclusion. So you don't need to have flow in the language. What you need to flow is flow in body, and what you need to relate intro to the body. So I already said, see the language of the question, make your intro based on that, and give a heading. You don't, even if you are not able to maintain that, give a heading. And the main question of the flow is comes into the body. So I already suggested that either you can go for the different perspective, and that perspective now, so you'll start prioritizing. For example, even if you write answer, even you are giving subheadings everything, you read your answers twice again, and you develop some understanding based on the model answer what feedback I am giving. You'll get to know, okay, this topic, like this point should be the first point. So in that way, the prioritization of the point itself will give a nice flow. And when you're coming back, try to maintain your conclusion on the lines which you are writing on the body. For example, you're showing some challenges in the body. So related to that, you write the solution in the conclusion. That much flow only we need. Most of the flow you need is in a body. That too can be addressed. And another thing I just forget to tell you, apart from perspective, you can also think on the line of stakeholders. For example, in some questions, you won't get like this much perspective, 8 or 9 perspective. So you need to identify the stakeholder. For example, take the any scheme assessment of any scheme question is asking. Just think your mind who can be stakeholder in this schemes, minority, government and all. So you'll get 8 9, for example, in any scheme. The beneficiary is the stakeholder, the implementer is the stakeholder, the policy maker is the stakeholder, and the one who maintains accountability and transparency and doing the social audit is also a stakeholder. And then the social this civil services organization is also a stakeholder. The media personnel is also a stakeholder. If you think like that, na, you'll get 9 points. Other, if you start thinking "Kya re, isme kya hoga, what will can write," you'll get 1 or 2 points. Once start you thinking on the stakeholder points of time, you'll get 9 or 8 points easily. So that will maintain your flow. And another way to fetch more points is process method. What I call process method, it mostly works in the case of, for example, if women related question comes, society related question come, you're going to start from, for example, what steps are being taken for women. It's a very cliched example, but I'll tell you. Start from the childhood. This we'll call life cycle approach. Start from the childhood, what women need in child. Then she becomes adolescent in stage. Then she goes in maternity. Then she becomes old. So if you write 2 3 points on each stage, already it's a 12 or 16 points. So three approaches are there: stakeholder, then the perspective, and there is a life cycle approach. If most of the questions, 70 to 80% question, if you think on these lines, you will get many points, and they'll help you to maintain the flow as well. So, and flow wala part I addressed. If you need to ask counter questions, you can ask. I'll go to the next question. What kind of fact should be added in your answer? See, it's very simple. So you cannot mug up the facts, each and every facts. So the most important facts, you try to have it up. For example, whatever your syllabus is, try to have 2 or 3 facts or examples under the heading sub under the your heading of the syllabus. So at least you have ready made handmade data, so everything is fine. So if at all that has been asked, questions around that topic is asked, you can put in or plug in that data. Facts can be various types, so the you don't need to like mug up each and every report's fact. So most important, you have to identify the what is the most important data. For example, in economy and employment, periodic level 4 survey, it is must. And then there are women, there are 2 3 indices. Like in hunger, there's indices. So the most important indices, the World Bank indices, only that you need to remember. If you're not able to remember, write the crux of it. What I mean to crux of it, for example, you can write at least more than half, rather than you're not able to uh, remember that is 58% or 64%. You can write more than half. According to UN, more than half of the population is, yeah, NCRB data. For example, for crime, any social, you can quote NCRB data. So you need to prioritize your sources. You cannot, for example, you cannot remember each and every sources, right? So, and for Assam specific data, I'll say the same data, for example, health indicators, education, your security. If you know, for example, we generally don't tend to forget key uh, balance of trade and this you don't need to remember that. You just need to remember that whether we are surplus or deficit. If you're writing key, we still have a surplus with trying to get it at a like deficit trade if have, and we're trying to make it surplus. You don't need to mug up ki how many billion surplus. Obviously you need to remember ki India, for which country India has the highest trade deficit or surplus. That is all. So you need to prioritize your data, make a data sheet. For example, generally you tend to make notes on topic wise, na? Say on the same line, 4 or 5 page data sheet you can maintain. And for each topic in your syllabus, you can write 2 3 data. That's all. Because more than that, you won't be able to remember. If you able to do that, so you will see the changes. For example, even if you're mugging up like 100 of datas on a single point in the exam, I believe you won't be able to even fetch a single data, because the exam is a high pressure situation. So if you have 2 3 data, you can keep repeating your answer, it will be get internalized in you. You don't even need to mug up in your like in main exam. So that will do. Coming on to the next question, I have some problem in writing conclusion. What should I do? See, I show you like two, three methods. So the most, if like the most convenient method of writing is go to the government schemes. Sometime we, there's another point I will try to make. All of you for the prelims would be reading the government schemes, right? So if you go through the government schemes and if you're not getting any, like if you're not getting any points in conclusion, you just go back to government scheme and don't write that scheme. Just write the objective of that scheme in your conclusion. What this scheme trying to achieve. So what the objective of that scheme will be your conclusion. So if you start doing that from right now, just go back to any scheme and just see the objective. So for example, a women specific scheme, agriculture scheme, everything. So even you write that because these schemes are something which they are trying to achieve. So they are visionary schemes, like they have something vision, some vision while making that policy. So you can quote that. That is very easy. You can do that. Go to government schemes or whatever, like women specific scheme. What they are trying to achieve can be your conclusion. That is one thing. And second thing is that in conclusion, for example, in ethical conclusion, you can also write the quotes, counter perspective, or whatever your experience is. That is ethics is slightly different. Otherwise, what the scheme methods and you can even write like government is trying to do this and we will achieve this. So that will help. So sometimes you don't need always write to in a paragraph. You can also give 3 points, maximum 4 points in a conclusion, but 3 points will do. And from where you get that those 3 points? So the in body, the most important 3 points you are making. So solution on those 3 points only can be your conclusion. That is fine. Just try this method. If you're facing problem again, then let me know and give your answer. And you just mention like, just please focus on conclusion and just suggest me on that. I'll do that. So I will be looking on like your copies or your answers based on that perspective only from conclusion point of view. So I will be writing in your copy the conclusion, kind of conclusion you want. So that can be done. Yeah.
So for the conclusion part, you can do one thing. For example, someone had written an answer on EIA, environmental impact assessment. So what is the objective of environmental impact assessment, and what are the solutions that you can offer, and what are the improvements that you seek so that it can help the stakeholders, right, to protect the environment, to protect the beneficiaries and the people who are affected if the environmental impact assessment is not done correctly or not done in the right way, right? So there you can offer your solution, and the examiner gets to know that you are a person who is a solution oriented person who looks forward to giving important uh, additions to what the policies are, how the policies are being made for, because eventually you become a policymaker through this journey, right? So on those terms you can conclude your answers, and that will add value to your answers.
Adding to the Poonam's point, like there is also strategic impact assessment. So that is not in India. So people are trying to fetch it. So if you're writing is there should be implementation of strategic impact assessment. And what is there in the strategic impact assessment? You don't need to write ki what is there. You just mention those points in your conclusion. That will do. As Poonam says, just hit on the objective and give one extra solution, that is strategic impact assessment. We can go for slightly, we can go for strategic impact assessment to meet the objective which is Poonam is talking about. So that will give you an edge. You're writing, so you know that it's not only EIA, there's also strategic impact assessment in the other countries that can well adapted for India as well. So that can be your conclusion. Yeah. Fact, how to balance between maintaining good handwriting and speed. So again, I am telling you, you cannot do much on good handwriting. What can you do? Make your handwriting legible. So there's a difference between good handwriting and legible handwriting. Good handwriting is like it looks good, like, and legible is that evaluator should be comfortable to read that. That is you can do through presentation. I just forget to like mention those points. If your handwriting is not good, what you can do, you can work on, for example, in one question that civil services organizations, it's better to go with. So there is a flow chart. What is civil services organization? It's a confluence between this political or you can make a government. There's a people, and in between there are civil services organizations. So these kind of flow chart you can maintain already. These kind of diagrams, for example, on very static topics, you can already have in your mind a flow chart, some flow chart. For example, EIA, there's a flow chart. You can have that in mind. So what you can do is work on your presentation skill rather than a handwriting. And I told you, like I was discussing earlier, is importance of bulleting. So how to make your answer visible to everyone is bulleting. And don't write long sentences, especially if you don't have a good handwriting. I don't have a good handwriting, so I used to get fetch marks. So I adopted, because I cannot do with that, because that's a हो गया जो होना था, that whatever happened happened. So you can work
Ron
on your
has
presentation
a
skill.
specific to Rondip. He with what I can assess from his answers, uh, what you tend to do is you tend to draw a very extensive uh, curves when you write y's, your y's or g's,
Hmm.
or those things can be eliminated, and it will save you microseconds also while you are writing, because you are spending more time on those curves, making those curves which are not needed. So unless if we eliminate the unnecessary clutter, then you do not have to write very cursive handwriting or something which looks, you do not have to be a calligrapher. But what you need to do is make your handwriting clear and avoid the unnecessary things.
Yes, don't make your sentences too long, and slight changes. For example, I used to write G and Y, so that used to look similar. So you can ask a friend or evaluator. So just eliminate the confusion. So legibility means I should be able to read your answer. If I'm confused between he's writing Y and G, that will be difficult. So work on those points only. You cannot make it like, so you can slide work on that. You will be fine, I guess. And with presentation and slide technique of eliminating the confusion in your words will help. Yeah. Shall we move to the prelims then?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah. Go ahead.
question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, during the mains exam time, there might be some random question that,
Yeah.
yeah, from newspaper or some other sources that I
True.
didn't study. Sir, how to approach those kind of questions?
Very good question. So I have already been like, there was one pointer, but I didn't discuss. I thought like it's not important right now. So what happens? First of think, how our mind perceive and question is makes a lots of difference. Even if you have read a single line about that topic, you will look confident. अरे ये तो पढ़े हुए sections आ गया, means this question has come from my own area. Like I have studied about it. Even if you have even studied a single line, then with that confidence you are able to write two-page answer. Believe me, this happens. Even if you, like, for example, just entering before the examination, you have read, okay, WHO has done this in COVID, just a single line. But even the questions on the lines of WHO comes, you are confident that you at least have something. So what happens there? Your confidence level increases, your mind's capacity to fetch whatever you read about WTO comes, and somehow you're trying to stick to the question, and you make 4 5 points, 4 5 points, another points. It's around 10 points, and you are happy, and you're also happy that you address the questions. What happens? For example, you have not read. This is the first time you're so how your mind perceive. I'll tell you how to write, but I'm telling you the psychological part of it. Your mind will perceive that you don't know. The moment you think you don't know, you're taking away your focus from your question, like what has been asked. You would be in panic mode. In panic mode, you know the hormones, how it works and everything, so you won't be able to even remember, fetch a single point. The first thing for me, it's come with a habit that, so the more you practice randomly, na, for example, you guys are random question you're taking and writing and just giving. That is fine. My feedbacks are how harsh can I be, but that is not an issue. Like I'm not. I would that doesn't matter. What matters is it will prepare you for the all the random questions. So what will happen? So if you see any random questions, don't panic. First of all, just underline what has been asked. Whatever, because you have read so much, you'll get one, two, or so whatever the process I have said you can think on those line, perspective line. So on that topic, you try to address at least answer. Not you're not able to fetch many points, so don't panic. Read the question and try to be as possible as it can be on the on like on the lines of that question only, and try your all the techniques you have applied during the practice and everything. You will be fine. If you can give me example, I can tell you.
So, for example, last year's question in GS paper 1 was that like big fat wedding.
A big fat wedding, okay.
Yes, discuss in Indians big fat wedding. That was the question, sir. And
What was the question completely, like what was the
And
like? Hmm.
see, there are certain questions. Most of the questions are open ended, and as sir had said, that once you read, you continuously you have been consuming information from newspaper, your static portion, and you have a lot of opinions on these things, right? And the big fat wedding question was a very simple question. It was asking your opinion on how big fat wedding has the implications the big fat Indian weddings are having on social or economic perspective, right? For
Yeah.
that, for that you do not have to memorize facts on how
Yes,
many big fat
exactly.
weddings, have India done in recent past,
This is your
or
common observation. You are going to big fat wedding. What you are seeing? The father is broke after that. If you don't have capacity, there's so much food wastage is there. The girls, for example, if you're loving someone, you're trying to be on equal footing. Once you have a that a psychological impact on girls as well, because see, that respect between the relation will increase if you are like forcing that big fat wedding. And the third, it's not giving you your social. For example, now we are living in the society where earlier big fat wedding used to related with the respect in the family. Now, for example, we are all woke. Now we don't see that. For example, you are. That is why that question has been asked. We don't see in a very prestigious thing. You think, okay, this is a kind of showing off. So you don't. That social recognition part is also decreasing. Earlier, the social recognition for the big fat wedding was high. Now, since society and everything is changing, it's coming down. And what was the question like? Its impact on what was the
I don't remember the question.
sir, the question was comment on the new trend of big fat wedding.
So
so?
you
ठीक
can
है.
comment on economic perspective, the social
Yes,
perspective,
wastage, food
gender
wastage.
perspective, yes, environment perspective,
Yes,
and trade relations perspective also, because for conducting such weddings we import a
economy.
lot, yeah, on
So,
Indian economy.
so that is
So
that will come into the positive counterpoint. Okay, first of all, whether you agree with the big concept of big fat wedding or not. So it's also a matter of right of personal choices, which are right to life talks about the personal choice and the preferences. You have that those rights, but whether it's your morality allows you, because it's a comment, so you can comment on both things. Whether it's ethically right, you can distribute that, or you can channelize those funds. But again, your personal choice. You have to balance your answer. You cannot outrightly say the big fat wedding is a, but you can show that big fat wedding creating this problem, food based wastage, economy, and there is a social shift as well, recognition and everything, show off culture. It's also so the show off culture in the society. On the second part of it, you can also write how much employment it can generate. A big fat wedding is giving so much employment. It's keeping your economy of people going. And this also, and see, so we are living in a democratic society. We are not living in a Chinese communist society where all are forcibly equal. So that is also fine. And you can talk about individual rights. That is also fine. Until unless it's a like if someone is not pressurizing someone, it's fine. So everyone is doing according to their ability. So you have to balance your answer. But in conclusion, you can write what does you think. For example, middle class family going for big fat wedding and keeping like just saving money and to for the big fat wedding but not investing in education is a disaster. You can write these points. But even in the well-to-do family, for Ambanis are going, that's absolutely fine. They have, and that is helping only. For example, if Ambani going for a big fat wedding, you see the how much like people, how much economy is getting generated. Your airlines, for example, someone is conducting marriage from Udaipur, hotels in Udaipur, the people working in that hotels, all the cameramen and everything, freelancers, all are getting, and even the media is getting feed out of that. So it is benefiting everyone, and people are consuming what media person will do. So you can write this for some people, it's disaster if you do in certain way, but if people are doing, if they have capacity, it is also helpful for the society. So you have to take your own decision whether you have that capability for go big fat wedding, and also show your value system and all. So you can comment on that line and finish on that line. The middle class family going for big fat wedding under the pressure of society is a disaster.
And these questions actually give you ample opportunity to show that you are a balanced person who you you have the opinion and you give your opinion balancing what you observe. And you see that employment is also being generated. There are certain because big fat weddings call for a lot of flowers, and flowers horticulture industry is getting uplifted, and all those things. And these questions, though these are random, but these are questions which you can answer using your presence of mind, or you on all the opinions that you have built reading newspaper articles and your static syllabus. So
You
these
don't need
questions
to. You
are.
just need to rely on your experience, whatever you're consuming through social media. That is enough. And also, for example, I just one point I came to my mind. For example, Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas. It was a big fat Indian wedding and everything, but it's also a opportunity to showcase your Indian culture. Sometime economy is required to showcase your culture. For example, G20 meeting happened in Assam. The Assam government had put in so much money. Without money, you cannot show the culture. So that type of thing is fine. You can quote as example if until unless you can justify your point, you're fine. Nobody gonna judge you whatever your point is, because there is justification for everything. You're able to provide good justification, you're good to go, and you will fetch good marks. Yeah. Anything on that line, like counter questions, anything?
There are a few other questions like how to uh,
Mapping. Hmm.
yeah.
How to increase speed in mapping places, etc. in maps without cluttering it. Simple practice. For example, what I used to do, uh, India, then each and subcontinent and each part. I used to make like 10 maps, and depending upon the answer question, for example, it's asking the ocean current, you have to make a bigger map. But for example, it's asking for there was question that Assam vulnerability to disaster, yeah, climate change or something like that. So only you need to make Assam, so river and valleys and hills and everything. So that will, so to to for the legibility of the mapping, you need to box it up. कैसे करोगे, whether you want to have a square one already ready made. So I used to take that and used to box it up. So box करने से क्या होता है ना, it will look neat, and use like thin, like fine needled pencil or pen to do that. Sometimes the pen which we are writing is not very suitable. So with try to inculcate that in a habit, and please practice maps. Once you practice maps, now with time it will improve, and the decluttering will also happen. And try, for example, if you're finding a map where you cannot number, for example, lots of features are there, so you can write 1 2 3 4 and write before that you can give legend. One means this, two means this, and you can find a way. That is absolutely fine. Like that is not a problem for me. If you practice well, you will be, and you practice for each reasons. For example, sometimes we only practice India. For India, for example, a specific part. What I used to do, for example, if the question is limited to the southern India only, so I don't used to go with the, because if I make a map of whole India and only need to map southern India, so this much is waste, and I'll make smaller map, and southern India is further smaller. So what I'll do, I'll utilize this portion for the southern India. What I'll do, I'll make southern India map only and give a line. And what I need to show you, I'll show only southern India. So that compartmentalized map also you can go if you have that issue. And sir, ma'am, we have direction on here preparing case studies part of ethics GS school. So what we can do here, that whole case study, it is difficult to explain. I can have a session whenever you want, addressing the case studies, whatever I limited capacity, limited knowledge I have, how I used to approach that. We can have different separate session if ma'am agrees. Poonam agrees, then we can have, because here it will take lots of, there is lots of strategy while writing a GS case study for
On
the GS4.
yeah. For ethics answers, we will have a separate session maybe in the next week so
Okay.
that we can cater to only the specific ethics questions that you might have
Yes.
doubt.
So way of writing ethics is also a bit different than whatever I explaining the body and everything. That is doesn't apply to ethics. And that case study also we can see in ethics through examples as well. So if we can do one thing, for example, we can dedicate 10 days, everyone will writing ethics. If you want, in a next month or something, then it will be better for all of you to focus on that. So you guys decide whenever you want to write for 10 days, you want to write ethics or something. I'll also go through the whatever my strategy was, and I'll prepare something, and then we'll come. That is fine, yeah. So I'll give you brief essays here. Essays is something.
Essays
Uh,
also will take another class maybe
But
because
I'll take you, I'll give you a starter what you need to do in essay. First, if you haven't write any essay yet, first go through the topos copy, and there are lots of good essays are there. Just read at least one or two essays each and every day through the topos copy. Just read for a month. You just read. Then see, like there is a Smriti ma'am's video on Vision IS Academy, or we can also have a session that is fine, but which are freely available. You can go. In fact, any teachers you can find YouTube. You can find any like you can get like any 2 3 coachings are there. They have free sessions or one session or essay. That is fine. More than that, you know, don't need to take the essays. Believe me, you read good essays. After reading essays, then only you see the session. You can reverse that, but this is my strategy. After reading good essays, then I used to see a lecture for 1 or 2 hours, and then I used to relate. Okay, see saying that this is the previous student has done that. Then you get some framework in your mind. After doing that, you are in a position to start an essay. See, essay would not come easy until unless you start writing it. So after this process for 15 to 20 days, you start writing it. Please do that. You can give essays here as well. I'll try to like see. Sir, can discuss some code-based quotation on ethics? Yes, I have given one instruction. I'll read that out to you for code-based question. Na? Uh, so I'll tell you. Just let me. So what happens in code-based question? Just wait. I'll give you through example only. Was there were a code-based question in ethics? Yeah. Not able to fetch where it is, but it was certainly there. And feedback I've given detailed. Okay, we'll do without having code-based question. When you read that code, first thing you need to do is to explain it. Explain what do you like and what do you understand by that code. First and foremost thing is to explain the code rather than beating around the bush or taking one keyword. No. Once you explain it, and as a evaluator, I get the sense that at least you are good, getting the code right. And what you'll do in the body, you'll try, for example, uh, you can like there was I'm just not able to find that example. If there is a certain, for example, eye to eye makes a world, like Gandhi is a simple quote. So you try to explain that in a simple word, very layman word. Then what we'll do, ki eye to eye wala mein, you'll give an example to justify your explanation. First you justify it ki okay, for example, if we'll do this, for example, a person doing this and someone doing this, then the what this will happen and that happened. You're trying to give 2 3 perspective and you explain what give you added advantage. Then counter perspective, what if for eye to eye makes a whole world blind. Agar if we don't have that attitude, then what will happen? So sometimes that also is necessary to give eye to eye reply. So counter perspective you can write. If you can justify that counter perspective, someone else like recognize people saying your quotation. You can also put quotation in the counter perspective, because philosophy and ethics has been developed in a such a way, it has been developed in a way of debates. Someone from PSIR would know that. I don't have that background, but someone people having PSIR would know that the in debate process what happened, if someone gives the perspective, so you justify your perspective and then there's a counter perspective. So universally you are accepting this perspective, but there are also counter perspectives for this. If you don't have an eye to eye, then, for example, present scenario, the context, the criminal cases and everything, you need to have that attitude. Otherwise, you won't survive in this practical world. So you can write this, but you can also give a justification in the long term. This will not happen. Then you in your conclusion, just you keep your point. Keep what we should do. Like, what is your what is the your suggestion? It's the suggestion part. Like, okay, you explain the meaning, you given the justification of that meaning, you given the counter's perspective, and then there's what should be actual thing. So whole debate is in body, meaning is there in intro, whole debate is in body, and the conclusion is your final take, what should be there, not what need to be, but what is exactly, but what should be there should be in the conclusion. I was searching for, just give me 1 or 2 seconds. Mm, it was initial one. Yes. I found that. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. This is a Mahatma Gandhi's quote. Explain what statement means to you in your present context. So someone has started writing suddenly key the quote mentioned above can be explained from the different point of view, cultural, administrative. No. First, you need to explain that. So I have explained that as well. So just you need to explain that. I'll send this copy again right now. You just read it, and Telegram channel I'm sending it. You just read it, and I also have given the framework for writing code based answers. So why I'm trying to force all of you guys to read each and every copy which after evaluation, so that you will gain out of it. Not only because, see, you're putting your hard work to writing 2 answers. That is good, very good. But in same time, you can gain 10x by reading, just giving half an hour more to your day. You can read all the evaluated copies. You'll get an idea. Okay, at least this mistake I don't have to repeat, because I generally used to give detailed evaluation. So I will write conclusion as well. I'll give your introduction. Sometime I also try to write introduction as well, so that you'll have certain things in your mind. It is going, the file is being sent. Once it's sent, you open, you open, and then you see, you read while we are discussing something else, and then something comes up. If I'm not able to make you uh, understand that, then you come back, because in feedback I have given that how to write code based quotations, and I also have written that answer itself, full answer I have written. So almost full answer I have written. Just go through that. I have sent it to the Telegram. Just open it. You'll find one. You read it, and then we'll discuss further. Yeah. Um, code based. Anything else?
Hello, sir. I just want to ask one thing
Mhm.
about the content, sir. So, it's like we are consuming so much content, like from the static part also, from the newspaper also, and we are doing the daily answer writing. So it's like
Mhm.
it's a huge amount of content, and it is like adding up day by day. And while writing a answer, it's very hard to map,
Mhm.
and
True.
we become like directionless, like what
Yes.
to write, what to neglect, how to refine the content throughout the process. Like, is there
So
any
it's,
proper mechanism?
yes, it is. There is a mechanism. So initially, I would guess that you are somewhere in middle of your preparation, right? Like somewhere in
Yes,
the
sir.
middle.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that is very easy for me to guess, because I have faced the same issue. Everyone faces the same issue. So what happens first? Every information will declutter, like clutter your mind. So once on the verge of completing your syllabus, or if you haven't even completed it, answer writing. What especially this happens during the answer writing. So once you have write at least 500 questions, na, then you get to know. Then your mind also get trained. For example, you're writing answers, so your mind will know. Okay, this information I didn't use in my answer writing. So your mind will be very selective while reading also. Key, for example, you're just reading and not writing. So you will try to tend to read each and everything. Now you're also doing answer writing and you're also reading. So what will your mind will be automatically trained, because we are all are very adaptive person. Adaptive as a human being, we are very adaptive. So your mind will be trained to uh, to read on the line what you need to write. For example, if you're reading some from some magazine, you're reading something in the back of your head. Since you're doing answer writing, if back of your head, it will make a framework. Okay, in answer writing, okay, I can write this point and this point and this, that will happen. So again, you won't be able to replicate that. So again, next answer writing, for example, I'll tell you facts and figure you don't able to remember, because even if you read hundreds of facts, you're not able to put it in your question. Next time you're not able to remember. So next time what you'll do, when you read that topic now, that will stick to your mind, because you are not able to write that. So your mind will be very receptive. Okay, these facts I was unable to reproduce in the paper, like in answers. So you would be very focused on that part rather than diffused focus. You will be very focused on picking those points. So these are mental and psychological things. So what mechanism I would suggest, try to, whatever you read, whether it's a newspaper or whether it's a magazine, try to put each and everything in your framework. For example, you have subtopics, topics, try to write and have it on. If you are a digital media, you can write on iPad, or if you're using your newspaper, you can take a pen, and you can write the subtopics over the any news you come across. And after reading the news, you just try to write a summary in a brief, not very long summary, 3 4 line summary of that whole topic. So what it will help you, so it will there for the long term. And since you have also put it in the framework, it will, so try to structure the things. It will help you to fetch more, and these do these things simultaneously. Read, write, read, write, read, write. You'll be in a position after 5 or 6 months, like after 3 months, even if you're doing regularly, you will be in better position to place your contents and everything. You're able to, the most important thing is that you will be able to eliminate those information which is not required for you. Reading thousands of articles and hundreds of facts on health is not required. You need to need 5 or 10 facts about on different parameters of the health. That is all. On one in women, children, then there's a malnutrition, hunger. That's all you need, and that you will be doing in prelims as well, because that's how. So there's overlapping thing. So more you overlap, more you structure your contents, the better will be the retention. Yeah. Do you agree, or you want to ask something like on these line also?
Yes, sir, I do agree.
Yeah.
Anybody has any other question? I actually really wanted to, Nitish, to shed some light on UPSC prelims questions,
Yes.
because even though you are not very eager to learn from Nitish, I personally feel that people who are even now, many of you are hesitant to appear for UPSC and you're not bothered. एपीएस तो आता रहेगा, एपीएस से निकाल देंगे, एपीएस तो हो ही जाएंगे, एसीएस तो हो ही जाएंगे, बट व्हाई नॉट यूपीएससी? एंड Nitish, my personal request is to you is for this is because people from Assam, they shy away from appearing in UPSC, but I believe
You shouldn't.
that they are preparing with the same syllabus.
So let me clear the air. So first I started the copy, I said Punam as well. So from nowhere, like we used to do answer writing and our batchmates as well, like in our preparation day. So you guys are writing, and the way I'm suggesting is you more than the normal coaching center for UPSC suggests in elaborated and everything. And the way you guys are writing is, I don't think it's anywhere like when you say APSC, UPSC, no difference. That is why I'm able to evaluate. See the level, the kind of answers you are writing. If I remember in my first year, I was writing like way bad answer than this. Like I was not near close to this what you guys are writing. So I don't see any reason that your guide. See, it's very good. You're like one thing you should secure, but Also have a long-term vision as well. Just plan it well, and the quality of answers you guys are writing is very good. I got to know the first time that you guys are not going for it. So I don't find any reason you guys not going for it, because the quality of answer writing, if it continues. For example, I have seen for one copy, two copiers are trying to evaluate yesterday, and I have given him like this feedback, and he was on point, subheading and everything. I even written that in feedback. It's a very good answers and everything. So in a 10 days or 5 days, you can improve so much. And it's not about improving. From where you have started is already is more than the base level. All the copies I have checked, it is more than a basic level answer writing. With practice, like you guys like very comprehensive your answer writing. So I don't see any reason. Personally, I don't see. But anyway, it's your hesitation. It will go with time. Once you start writing, you'll feel confident as well. Then you'll give it a attempt. I know. Just don't um, stop yourself mentally. Rest of rest things will be taken care of. Yeah. So we should go to prelims as Poonam suggested. Or you want to ask?
We will definitely have another session, because I know Nitish can guide you very well with respect to UPSC prelims. But today, as we have already crossed 1 hour,
Okay.
today I request Nitish to briefly give some idea on how because there is ample amount of time from now. If we can see that prelims is going to happen in May, maybe after APSC's prelims is over, because because the recent notification said that APSC prelims is going to happen in March. So after that, they can definitely sit for UPSC prelims.
Okay.
So
And when is the APSC means?
means that usually happen after 3 months after prelims. They
So
usually take
that maybe
that
so
much
that
of,
can be an issue for some candidates,
yeah.
because that can be an issue. But whatever I see, that kind of syllabus is almost in mains is almost similar. So prelims we can have a different session, and what I'll suggest all of you. For example, let's one topic I just missed: how to balance between your APSC prelims also and mains. So my suggestion would be, don't ignore this answer writing things at least for 15 or 20 minutes, whatever you write, because I am here to evaluate. Sometimes people get demotivated because they don't find any person to evaluate. Even a single question per day, and you don't need to write on a random topic. For example, during the time of prelims, you will be reading the static things, static material. You are writing all the current affairs right now, ethics and everything. So orient your mains preparation based on your static prelims syllabus. What I'm trying to say, geography, history, because you don't get much time to write a mains specific answer to it. So why to waste your time after prelims on writing the static topic? Write one to a static topic, because you're already reading history, geography, and for your prelims. Write one to question mains question in evening or night when you have already you're done with the prelims preparation, or it will give you break as well from MCQ and answer writing. So you can do that, and it's only a mental barrier to it's only a mental barrier for not for completely leave its means like answer writing thing. 15 days before you can, I understand you should be into the prelims mode, or 20 days before, but not beyond that. Till 20 days before prelims, you should write. This is what I personally believe. And once you start writing and doing that, you would be much more. See, if you guys continues here, which I hope you would, then you will see the difference after a month, and the increase in the confidence level of all of you, and to sit in the UPC exam. So you don't have to do anything. See, you need to feel confident, see your copy and see the toppers copy in any, like there's lots of online forum where the toppers copies are available. You'll feel confident about yourself only. If I show you my copy 2 3 years back, then you will say कि ये ऐसा आंसर तो कोई भी लिख सकता है. This means this type of answers can be written by anyone. So it's only a mental barrier, I would say. Plan your career, plan your thing. For example, if you try to if for example if you're getting a PC rank this year, so I would suggest next time, rather than going for the rank improvement, go for UPSC. Rank improvement you can do, but UPSC, within, if you get into within time, it's a very win-win situation for you. Or some time which my friends were doing, they used to first target UPSC, and for example, 4 attempts has already been there for some of my friends. So what will they'll do? Then they'll go for APSC, like state service examination. So that was also a nice strategy, because states, once you start preparation for you preparing for UPSC, state service examination become, it's not easy, but it become relatively easy for them. Then they crack and then get into the service, and then they again start preparing for the last 2 attempts or whatever attempts they have left. Then they start going for this state service like UPSC. So that kind of strategy also found that 3 years you can give to completely the UPSC. So you should not think that you take 3 years, first of all. If that happens, and I'm talking about the only worst case scenario, if that happens, then there's a plan B comes like APSC, or you can, if you're confident enough, like give simultaneously UPSC and APSC. So you can make a strategy to deal with how to deal with APSC and UPSC, but there should be no any strategy which doesn't take into account of UPSC. This is what I'm trying to say. Keep UPSC or civil services in your mental framework. That is all I want to convey all of you. Yes. Anything else? Code based I have already done. Anything? So I think whatever I
Sir,
can see, yeah,
sir,
go
regarding
ahead.
the opinion-based question, yeah, regarding
Yes.
the opinion-based question, the questions like, do you agree? Do you believe? So, as you have already mentioned, that we should go for like
Mhm.
a major portion in our opinion by giving,
Just
60 or
typically
70%. Yeah, and
mm,
30 or
counter
40%
perspective.
should be the counter perspective. But in the conclusion
Mm.
part, what should be like, should we stick to our justification, or it should be
See,
like balanced
what is
approach?
generally, yes, you have to take your approach only. So what, for example, that eye to eye wala, for example, so you'll write, yes, Gandhiji was absolutely right while he says that, but these things works in a certain context or in an ideal world. That is our counter perspective. In today's context, we cannot. But in conclusion part, but what we are striving to do is Gandhiji's ideal world. So in long term scenario, this Gandhiji's perspective is absolutely correct, but in the present context, you cannot. So we should strive for then again your view. We can strive for that. That is even 60-70% right now. That should be 100%. So you can end your conclusion on that line. So how it will help overall society and everything. So you can bring that in a conclusion. You conclude with your point of view only. Ki how you see that world. Like for example, that was another code based question was which I was looking at. Where is it? There was a question which I was discussing. Uh, mm, I don't know where it went. Like, I sent you recently, na this. Yes. There also there was a question. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Yes, this is absolutely true. Matlab, this will explain first of what is meaning, and then it will explain. Yes, it will help you. This, for example, when you help other, then the values of compassion, everything will come, and then you'll get to know yourself, and knowing yourself will help you to develop your EQ, like emotional quotient, and then you'll get to know yourself better, and everything is fine. But in this, the counter perspective can be like, sorry, in this counter's perspective can be in only knowing, like only doing this won't help. Introspection and everything is also required. Working on a personal level is also required. So along with this, here exact counter perspective is not there. So this along with this will only help you. So only doing this will not help you along with this. And what you can do the most, like it will give you more confident if you know someone whose counter perspective to this argument is available. use their side, their idea, because they're already established philosophers and everything. You can use their idea in a conclusion as well, and you're good to go. You basically have to stick to your conclusion based on your opinion only. You don't need to like different opinion conclusion. So this is what I try to say. Are you like satisfied, or you want to like add on to it, or ask any
Yes, sir.
counter questions?
Yes, yes. I was
Okay.
totally.
Anything else?
So,
So how should we go from here? Okay, one
we
thing
will.
also wanted to know, yeah, till how much, like, which months you're trying to, like, are you willing to continue for, like, answer writing? I would suggest you should, since it's in March, I would say you should continue till, like, January end or Feb, for, like, in, like, Feb 15. But this is my suggestion, and the decision will be yours only, but yeah. Yeah, Poonam, you're saying something.
Yeah, you can continue writing the answers till prelims is announced, because the notification comes and you will definitely get 2 months for studying for prelims, and 2 months, 2.5 months is enough, which I
Yes.
believe.
And I also
Uh,
suggested try to utilize your static answer writing during the 1 month of prelims. Like just 1 month before you can leave all answer writing, but that again I won't advise. But if you want, you can. Half an hour only, it's just mental barrier. It will be fine. Anything the way you are comfortable is fine for me, but this is my suggestion only. Yeah.
we think we can wrap up today's session, and we
Okay.
will definitely carry on with more such sessions, and especially on, we will continue one session on prelim specific.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nitish, for joining the session with such a short notice. And also, I
Always,
thank
always. I was trying to convey all of this. I just wanted to connect all of them because I didn't wanted whether I'm doing right or wrong or what they need. So I also wanted a kind of feedback for my evaluation as well. So it was much needed section for me as well. Thank you, Punam. And I wanted to add one more point. If you guys like write more, if you lot more people will come, I'll rope in another my batchmate. So if you guys are willing to write more, you're always welcome. So resource or something is not an issue, and I'll do my best to do that. Though I am busy here and there, but believe me, 48 hours, I'll revert back to you your answers and evaluated copies. So I'll encourage you to write more and more if you can. It's all of you are welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I believe that everyone is quite satisfied with the kind of evaluation that you have done there. I
Thank you.
absolutely believe that they have got a lot of insights, valuable insights from you, through which they can add a lot of value in their answers and get selected the next year.
All the
So,
best of all of you.
wishing you all the best, and have a very good Sunday.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone. All the best.